Everyone, this is Anjali. Welcome to the channel. So today we are going to do how to check conditions in Python. So this is our third lesson for this Python programming series, and we have done how to create variables, how to input the values, how to use the operators, and print the result on the screen. And now it's the time to check conditions, because every time it's not like that you input some values and you write down a formula, calculate the thing, and print the result, right? So at times we need to check conditions. For example, if you just input the marks of a student, you can find the total, you can find the percentage. But if you need to check whether the student has cleared the exam and is promoted to the next class or is not promoted to the next class, so I need to check a condition. Similar way, if I want to give grade, like if the student has scored more than 90, I'm going to give A plus grade. If the student has scored 80 to 90, I'm going to give A grade, like that. So if we need to check conditions, so we need some special statements for checking conditions in every programming language. And so do we need in Python, right? So condition control statement, you can call it, or selection control statement, or decision control statement. Anyhow you call it, it means the same thing. So condition control, or you can say decision control, or you can say selection control statement. Each of these means the same thing. Okay. Now, how do we check a condition? As I discussed relational operators with you in the previous class, we saw that we can check conditions with the help of greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, not equal to operators. And at times we can combine the conditions with the help of and or, right? But how do you check it in coding? So for that, Python provides you a keyword named if. Okay. So if is a keyword, you have to write it in small letters. So it's if in small letters. Then we write down a condition over here. So we write down a condition, which is any Boolean expression. That means you're going to use some relational operators on it to make a condition. So you write a condition here, you put colon sign over here, and then you write down the statements. Now, if this condition is true, these statements are executed. If the condition is false, the statements are not executed. Now, the thing is this, like, how does it come to know that how many statements are going to be part of if? In many programming languages, we use this set of brackets, like opening bracket and closing bracket, which marks the block, that whatever statements come inside the block, that is associated with your keyword. But Python does not have these brackets. So we don't have this in Python. So these are non-existing for us. So here what we do is we give tab. There is a tab key on your keyboard. You don't have to press it anyhow. When you put colon and you press enter, it automatically moves ahead, right? So we have if, we have condition, we have colon, and after an indent, you have certain set of statements over here. Now these statements which are indented means which are after a tab, these all comes under your if block. So this all forms an if block. Now if the condition is true, these statements will be executed. If the condition is false, these statements will simply be ignored. So these statements will not be executed. So if the condition is true, statements are executed and it stops. If the condition is false, statements are skipped and it goes to the next statement after that. That's how your if works, right? So whenever you have a situation that if it's true, do this, if it's false, don't do anything at all, right? So there we can use only if. But most of the time, your conditions are like this, that you have if and else. Like if the condition is true, do this, else do this. So else is not compulsory to be given with if. I can use if. I can use multiple ifs also in a program. For example, let's discuss a program before discussing else. If I'm supposed to make a program to find greatest of three numbers, what can I do? I can input three numbers first. So I write int input, enter first number, b is equal to int input, enter second number. Similar way, you can get the number in third variable. and then we write if A greater than B and A greater than C. So if A is greater than B and A is greater than C, A is greater than both the numbers. That means A is the greatest number. So after the indent, I can print A is greatest, and that's it, right? Now, if this condition is true, it will print A is greatest, and if the condition is false, it will not print anything. That's it. Now, we have another if. So I can have as many ifs in my program as I want. So I can write if B is greater than A and B is greater than C. So in that case, B is greatest. And if C is greater than A and C is greater than B, so print C is greatest. So we could have any number of conditions like this. So wherever the condition is true, statement will be executed. And if the condition is false, it will simply ignore it. Nothing will execute at all. Right? Now, being a 12th class student, you will not get a program to write as such. You will not get a program to write using if or if else, right? So where you would be using if else is either there will be a code, a long code, in which they will be having conditions and you're supposed to write the output of that. So the code will be given and you're supposed to write the output of that, or they can ask you for rewriting the code after removing the errors, like they can write an if and the colon will be missing. So you have to say that there has to be a colon after if, or maybe they write capital IF for if, so that is also wrong. If keyword is all small letters, right? So such kind of questions can be there, but not a direct program which you get like this to find greatest of three numbers or to find average of student and print the grade. You won't get questions like that, right? But it will be part of some higher level question. Inside that, if would be a small part. So you must know how we use if. So one option is how simple if works. And then second alternative is using if else. Now, how if else works? We write the keyword if, we write down a condition, we put a colon here, we write down the statements, we have else, then a colon here, and we write down another set of statements here. So if condition statements, else statements. If the condition is true, these statements will be executed. So we call it true block. Immediately after that, we must have else. Now, if the condition is false, whatever we have given here will be executed. So that is your false block. So either true block is executed or false block is executed, one of the two. A very simple example of this, which you will be using in many of the programs also to check whether a number is even or odd, because we get number of questions where we need to check whether a position is even or odd. So how do we check a number is even or odd? So we say have a number in the variable num. I have an operator percentage sign that gives us remainder. So I'm going to check if I divide my number by 2 and the remainder is 0, that means number is even. So what I can print that the number is even, right? Else, if it is not like that, so obviously if it's not even, it's going to be odd, right? So if num mod 2 is equal to 0, print even. Else we have to print odd, right? So this is how we can check if a number is even or odd. So if else, similar way, if you want to make a program to find out profit or loss of transaction. So if selling price is more than the cost price is profit, otherwise loss, right? If a student has cleared the exam or not. So if the student's marks are more than the passing marks, it's clear, otherwise not. So there are so many situations where we have this thing. Like if the condition is true, then do this. If the condition is false, do something else, right? So there we use if else. So if else is required where we have exactly one choice out of the two. So we know there are two things and we have to go further with one thing only. There we use if else. Then comes another very important thing, which is called elif ladder. So this is very important because you get the questions to find the output and there it's used a lot. So elif ladder is like we have a series of conditions. Now you can have a series of conditions with single if also. But now The difference is if I have 5 conditions given with if, like if a condition, then if, like this, I have 5 conditions. It's going to check all of them one by one, irrespective of the thing which one is true. Maybe your first one is true, but still it's going to check the rest of the 4. So it is going to check all 5 conditions, irrespective of the thing which one is true. But if I want it this way, that as soon as I get the matching condition, it should not check further. So if I get a matching condition, it should not check it further. So there comes the role of elif. So elif is used when I have an if. I have a condition here. I have colon, statements. Then I have elif. Then there is a condition, colon, statements, elif, condition, colon, statements. At the end, we have else, and then we have statements here. Now, if the condition is true, the statements are executed. Elif, condition is true, these statements are executed. Elif, condition, and so on. So if the condition is true, these statements will be executed, and that's it. It is not going to check any of these conditions. If this one is false, it's going to check this one. If this one is true, it will stop here. But if this one is false, it will check this one. And the last else is executed only if all above conditions are false, right? So a very common example of this is to find grade of a student, where you can check the percentage marks of a student. Like if the percentage is greater than equal to 90, I can print the grade is A plus. LF, I can check if percentage is greater than equal to 80. I don't have to check if percentage is less than 90 because it's quite obvious. It's not greater than 90, then only we are checking this condition. So it's obvious that it's less than 90 and greater than 80. So in that case, the grade will be A. If LF is a single word, there is no space between LF, and moreover, it's in small letters, right? Similar way, you can have print B, and I can have as many conditions as I want, but let's say I just write it this way. So this could be the thing. Now, if we talk about 12th board exams, then how it will be useful to you? In your board exams, you can get output question where you have to be very careful about the code given. It would be obviously inside a loop or something. So it will be a loop, inside that conditions will be there. But you have to make sure whether it's if or it's elif. Because if it is if, for example, if I take num is equal to 50, right? And I say that tell me the output of the following code. So if num mod 5 is equal to 0, I write num is equal to num divided by 5, right? And then I write if num mod 2 is equal to 0, num is equal to num divided by 2. And then I print num. Now, what will be the output of this? It will be, first your num is 50. It will check 50 mod 5 is equal to 0. Yes, 50 mod 5 is 0. It's divisible by 5. So it will divide it by 5. So now the value will change to, so this is your num, which was 50, and it will change to 10. And now it's going to check this condition. Num mod 2. 10 mod 2 equal to 0? Yes, it is. Divided by 2. So you get 5. So when it comes out, it will be printing 5. But the meaning would differ if the question would be num is equal to 50 if num mod 5 is equal to 0. Then I write num is equal to num upon 5. Elif num mod 2 is equal to 0. So num is equal to num divided by 2 and print num. In this case, first it will divide 50 by 5, it will become 10, but it will not check the second condition, right? So it's elif. Elif means first condition is true and then you stop, you don't go further. So it will not check the second condition, it will stop over there, and your output will be 10 in this case. So 10 will be the output over here. So this thing you have to take care of when it is asked for outputs, whether it is if or elif. So always remember, if it is multiple ifs, then you have to check all the conditions, and in the next condition, the updated value of the variable has to be used. Like num was initially 50, but this line modified it to 10. So in the next condition, I did not use 50. I used 10. So if your value is modified in the result of that if, you have to use a modified value in the next statement. Okay. So this is going to use num as 10, not as 50. So 10 mod 2 is 0. That's why 10 upon 2 gives you 5. But in this case, first condition was true. We got 10 and second was never checked. And that was your output. So that's how we use conditions in Python. So you can use if, you can use if else, you can use elif ladder. You can also put one if inside another if, that is inside the block which we have indented. There can be further ifs in that. That is called nesting of if, which is rarely used. But yeah, it's an option. It's there, right? So if you want to do number of questions on conditions, and if you want to practice number of programs in Python, there is a playlist in the channel called 100 Days Programming Challenge, right? So you can follow that playlist. Just go through the playlist and you can get the program, the logic over there and the solution. But I would suggest just listen to the problem first and try to solve it of your own, and then you can match the answer I have provided. So there are 100 programs in that playlist because it's 100-day coding challenge. So to practice proper Python whenever you have time, so go through that right from the very first program. You can just keep practicing all the programs that will help you to get your programming concepts stronger, right? So this was about checking conditions. If the video was useful, if you understood the concept, so do hit that like button. Share the videos with other students who are willing to learn Python, right? Who are just going to class 12th after passing their class 11th or are preparing for the board exams, right? So please share, share, and share. And obviously keep watching, keep learning. And I also have Insta handles, which is there in the description. There is an app also from where you can download my handwritten notes. So all the links are in the description. So do check and I'll see you in the next class. Bye for now.